All right, so let me get straight to the point here. Right now, what you see are 6 prophecies that Donald J. Trump can potentially fulfill. And the reason why we say potentially, because these are things that he's actually seeking to do. These 6 prophecies that I'm about to explain before you are 6 prophecies that if he fulfills them, in which he is seeking to do, it makes him what the Bible calls the Antichrist. This is biblical information from prophecies that were prophesied about thousands of years ago about the times that we're living in right now. The final world empire will rise out of the political arena. So here are 6 biblical prophecies that Donald J. Trump is potentially fulfilling. Potentially. All right, number 1, he is in peace talks with Israel in the Middle East. You can find this scripture in Daniel chapter 9, verse 27. It talks about a man who will rise up in the last days. He is the Antichrist, and that he will establish a covenant for 1 week. That scripture that says 1 week is actually translated to 7 years. A week is equivalent to a year. Just like a score is equivalent to 20, a week is equivalent to a year when it comes to end time prophecy. So in this particular end time prophecy, it says he will establish a covenant for 1 week, or in other words, 7 years. And then in the midst of that covenant, or in the middle of that covenant, 3.5 years later, he's going to break that peace treaty. And that is when he's going to sit in the temple of God and declare that he is God, the Antichrist, and that he is to be worshiped. Okay? Jesus also talks about this in Matthew 24. Let me read it to you. When he's talking about the last days, this is what Jesus says concerning the Antichrist sitting in the temple. When you see the abomination of desolation, now who is that? That is the Antichrist, spoken about by Daniel. That's who we're talking about. That's where the reference is. Okay? Spoken about by Daniel, the prophet, standing in the holy place. That's the temple that they're going to build. Then let those which be in Judea flee to the mountains. Let those that be on the housetop not come down to take anything out of his house. Neither let those that are in the field return back to take their clothes. And woe to those that are with child and to those that give suck, nursing infants in those days. And why is it saying that? Because in those days there will be great tribulation. Okay, and we'll come back to this. So when the Antichrist sits in the temple that they will build, he's going to declare that he is God. He's going to declare that he's worshiped. And he's also at that time going to turn on the Jewish people. Okay? The Antichrist is prophesied to turn on the Jewish people. That is why Jesus warns those that are in Judea, warns those that are in Israel at this time to flee. All right, and this leads me to my second point. There are talks of building the 3rd temple in Jerusalem, and Donald Trump is a part of that. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verses 1 through 12, and Daniel chapter 9, verse 24 through 27. All right, so the Jews actually have 3 temples. The 3rd one is yet to be built, okay? The 1st temple was built in the days of Solomon. King David wanted to build God a temple, but God told him, no, you have too much blood on your hands. Your son will build the temple. So Solomon was his son. He builds the temple. That temple was destroyed in the days of Jeremiah because of Israel's sin by the Babylonians. And then it was rebuilt in the days of Nehemiah, which is where we get the book of Nehemiah. All right. And then that temple was destroyed 40 years after Jesus ascended and sat at the right hand of the Father once he abolished sin and death. Jesus actually prophesies about the destruction of that temple in Matthew 24. Okay, Matthew 24 is a discourse about the end times. You should go read it. So let's go ahead and read 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 and read 3, 4, and 5, which pertains specifically to the 3rd temple. Paul says, let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come. Now, what day is he talking about? He's talking about the second coming of Christ. He says that day will not come except there come a falling away first. What is that? That's the apostasy. And that the man of sin be revealed. Who's the man of sin? That's the Antichrist. The son of perdition, or the son of destruction. Now watch what it says. Watch how it describes him. Who opposes and exalts himself above all that is called God or that is worshipped, so that he, as God, sits in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. So that's what we're talking about. There's going to be a third temple built. I explained the other two. This is the last one. When that temple is rebuilt, the Antichrist will sit in the temple and declare to be worshiped and exalt himself above all that is called God and that is worshiped. All right. Trump is in talks with the Jews right now concerning the building of the third temple. He is heavily involved with it, him and his son-in-law, Jared Kushner.